We gotta be honest, too many people are talking. There's too many people giving their opinions. There's too many people saying what they believe and what they think. The way the world is just meant to be is that certain people say stuff, certain people do stuff, and certain people listen to people say stuff, and certain people watch people do things. If you're one of the people that should be listening and watching, shut up. Why are you part of a conversation? There's a reason why we have historically chosen philosophers, people who actually have proven themselves worthy and qualified to think about these subjects and give their opinions so to help you formulate how you should think about things. Why is everybody saying what they believe all the time, bro? Do you have the credentials? But before we get into it, I'm Mr. Other Person, the Internet Substitute, and this video is not about my stance on politics or any of my beliefs, but instead the overarching idea of how people treat politics and the conversation of politics with other people. So if you like this video, please leave a like down below, and I hope you enjoy the video. Peace. Just because you are capable of thought does not mean you are good at it. Thinking is something you need to be good at. Forming opinions is something you need to be good at. There are certain levels to perception and evaluation and interpretation, a combination of all the shins. Till at some point you end up with like a Socrates or was Sigmund Freud a philosopher? Or did he just want to fuck his mom? Neurologist and founder of psychoanalysis. Does he count? I don't even know. There were certain people chosen to speak on these things because they have proven themselves worthy to be speaking on these things. And somehow that devolved into today where everybody gets the platform to speak on their opinions, and then they get the validation because their opinion in that moment just happens to be correct and aligned with a lot of other people's opinions. So now they believe that every opinion they have is accurate to real life and how the world functions, when in reality you just were right that one time, and now you're on a platform with people who are possibly qualified to speak on these things, but since you are so underqualified but still sitting around, you just have the most dumbled bullshit coming out of your mouth for everybody to hear and everybody to actually take into consideration, because we still haven't learned to separate what we see on our screens from what is actually real life. Because just because you see somebody on a screen does not make them qualified to what they're doing. During the transition between having official professionals and experts on our screens to having just everyday people on our screens, we adapted to the feeling of seeing people that we can trust and we can believe on the screens. We now still apply that to our screens, but these aren't people that we can necessarily trust or believe in what they're saying, because they're also just dumbasses. The majority of people, me included, the majority of people are dumbasses. We're all stupid. We don't have what it takes to think about everything on the world all at once. It's just impossible. That just does, you can't. You automatically have biases that you grow up with and that you were raised with that cause you to see the world in a certain way that won't be accurate to how it actually may be. And this caused a lead to the trend of debating culture. People just discussing and debating anything and everything, even though nobody's qualified. And then occasionally you will get somebody who's qualified, but because debate culture has been taken over by people who don't know what the fuck they're doing, the person who is qualified can't get a word in edgewise, and it leads to nothing. It just poofs out. Here's a comparison, right? I grew up in America and we played a lot of basketball. We played a lot of football. We played a lot of dodgeball, kickball, okay? But then when I moved to Germany and went to school in Germany, they played more like soccer and soccer. Like they just played a lot of soccer. We played a lot of soccer. I was ass at soccer because I had never played it before, so I just was put in the goal. I was the goalie because I'm good with my hands. Since I played basketball, I was in the goal. But at some point we played basketball in PE and I was extremely good, way better than everybody else. But since nobody else understood the rules of basketball, they would be fouling me nonstop. They would be smacking my arms, pushing into me, getting in the way, full up in your face, all these things. And then even the coach, like even the people, like my teachers, they didn't know what was going on, because one time I did a star step, right? And I got called a foul on me for traveling. Huh? But do you get what I'm saying? The people that are part of these debates, they don't know what they're doing, so it just destroys the entire thing. There's foul after foul, there's this mess up, that mess up, but it doesn't matter because we still give them the platform and we validate their opinions and give it the quality that they believe they had, because everybody just automatically agrees with everything because who gives a fuck, right? It doesn't matter at the end of the day. And the perfect depiction of this is probably the dumbest channel that has ever existed on the platform of YouTube, Jubilee. Jubilee, it has destroyed, which I don't know if it's Jubilee's fault, but they're definitely not helping. The main thing with Jubilee, they took the internet and put it in real life, and you should never do that. You should never put the internet in real life. That is a recipe for disaster, and you only get the dumb shit we see on Jubilee on a consistent basis. So they have this one thing. What is it, Middle Ground? Or is it just, I don't even know if the series has a name. Surrounded. It's called Surrounded.
My family lineage is set.
No, I don't want to watch the whole thing. But they get one person who is qualified, usually an expert in these situations, and they have them debate against whatever the polar opposite is to that, okay? This last one being Medhi Hasans debates 20 conservatives. Now the issue is the people on the other side, okay? They may be vetted, which it has shown that it's not. not properly vetted because they had people on this last one that definitely shouldn't have been on any platform ever. The main issue is Medhi Hassan may be the best debater ever. It doesn't matter what your political standings are or what you agree with, what you believe. If you objectively view how he debates, he is probably one of the best. But the 20 people that he's supposed to debate against are just random fuckos from the street.
You don't look very Native American to me.
I am Native American. Whites are Native Americans. What are you talking about?
They're just random dumbasses. And I would say this the same with, was there ever a right-winger against 20, I think there was. One conservative versus 20 feminists. Dude, even that, one conservative versus 20 feminists was the one before with Candace Owens. She destroyed them. And I don't even agree with most of her points. But when it comes to debating as an objective sport, let's say, she absolutely ruined them because those were just 20 dumbasses off the street. They just take 20 whatevers and have them talk because they're like, it's pretty much like this, okay? When they look for the one person to be surrounded by, right? The one person sitting in the main chair, they figure out, okay, what is their background? Do they have any books published? Have they been on this news channel? Have they done this thing? So they have to go through all this and they have to ask the person, do you want to be part of this? For the people that are in the 20, they go, what are your political alignings? And if they answered any of those questions correctly, boom, you're on the show. It doesn't matter who you are. If you're above the age of 18, I guess, get on the show and say whatever the fuck you want to say because, dude, the way that I have never seen, okay, well, the Charlie Kirk one, I believe, right? Or the Jordan Peterson one, he got demolished. But that's because Jordan Peterson Jordan Peterson now is what Eminem is in rapping. Because Eminem has gotten so deep into being lyrical that it sounds it's so unnatural. It's very technical, so it sounds kind of awkward. Jordan Peterson has gone so deep into the what am I thought that now everything is just what is this? There is no looking for a solution. It's just hinterfragen. I don't know what hinterfragen is in English. It's just questioning everything down to until there's no questions left, but there's also no answer. That's why Jordan Peterson fails. What am I doing with my pinky? What am I doing? But when you have this situation where it's supposed to be debates, then you put all these people together and you just have them, it's just a screaming match. It becomes the goal for these people, especially if you do it in a versus way. Let's go back. Okay, slow down. I'm getting hyped up. All right. What is the point of a debate? A point of a debate is to, first and foremost, share opinions. It's just for this person to say what they think and how they view the world, and the other person to speak and how they view the world. The second goal could possibly be to find a middle ground between the 2 points. Okay. I would say nowadays that is much harder to do because we are in such extremes and polar opposites of the political spectrum that it's very much possibly impossible to find a middle ground in most of these situations. The third goal could be one person tries to convince the other of whatever their opinion is. If you on either one of the sides aren't open to any of these, if your goal isn't to either share your opinion, find a middle ground with the person, or possibly be persuaded by their opinion, you shouldn't be part of a debate. Then it's not a debate. Then it's an argument. It forms into an argument. Once you mix emotions with dismissing all those goals, you are just arguing at that point. And that's what you see in a lot of these videos, is them just screaming back and forth. Now, this last one is a bad example because Medhi Hassan, he has morals and understands how debate works, so he knows if this person is this certain kind of way, they shouldn't be arguing with me. Like, for example, if you're a hardcore Nazi fascist, like, you shouldn't be debating with that person because they already made up their mind. Dude, you can't be like, yeah, I want to kill all of that one group of people, but there's a chance that maybe I don't want to do that. That's not possible. At that point, why are we wasting our time? Which he did a good job. He just stopped talking to the guy, which he should do, which everybody should do, because that's when you're going into absurdism. Absurdism has no place in official professional debates because that's just completely absurd. I find extremism in any direction is also absurdism and just shouldn't be part of the thing. So the same how I view that guy with his beliefs, I see it as a left-wing extremist who says we should just murder every billionaire on the planet and just give out the money to everybody. No, we definitely should not do that, because people who are dumb with their opinions are just as dumb with their money. So we shouldn't be just throwing it around everywhere. That would cause nothing but chaos. So absurdism has no place in debates. An additive issue is that a lot of people debate with a second person goal. And that second person goal, when I say that, I mean it, their own goal isn't to share their opinions, find a middle ground, or persuade the other person, but instead, my goal as a debater is to make you look stupid. Fail. You have failed as a member of society if that's your goal. And I'm gonna be honest, I only frequent left-wing channels and spaces on the internet because the right-wing spaces obviously are just completely buffoonery. It's just dumb. I have yet to find one that is sensible. I'm not against finding one, or I'm not against the idea that there is a sensible right-wing channel or right-wing content creator or YouTuber or whatever, but so far I have not found one, and yes, I have looked. Since the only place I can find sensible ideologies and sensible talking points and ideas behind these things are left-wing spaces, then I frequent those, but those also come with a plethora of issues, one of those being their entire channels, their entire personas and opinions are 100% based off of making the right look stupid. You don't get anywhere with that. That doesn't help develop anything. You will never find any of those main goals. You'll never be able to share your opinion. You'll never be able to find middle ground, and you'll never be able to persuade the other person if you start off with everything as you're stupid. You're stupid. You should repeat your stupidity. You should sound dumb as much as possible. There's one channel, a left-wing channel, that literally says, in almost every video I've seen so far, he says, we should be making fun of these people. You are actively part of the problem. You are not helping anybody. We are not progressing like that. We are not finding any solutions. As absurd and as idiotic as a lot of right-wing standpoints are, if you have somebody in front of you, and no matter what it, dude, if you have a glass of orange juice and you go, hey, do you want some orange juice to whoever's in front of you, and they say, no, I don't like orange juice, you don't go, hey, you're a fucking idiot for not liking orange juice. That's not what you do. And I know that's very, very, very simplified. These are much bigger problems, much bigger issues that should definitely be spoken upon and fixed upon. But when it comes to that part, no. Like I said, you have the absurdist extremists. They're done. They're in their role. They're doing what they're doing. But you have the people who may be right-wing or conservative who just haven't spent the time thinking about the things. How many people on the planet, okay? How many people on the planet? I want to say it's a large percentage of people on the planet believe what they believe because that's what they grew up with. That's just what was given to them at the time. And they never gave a second thought to any of it. So once they hit around like their 20s or late 20s or 30s or 40s, dude, elderly people, if they have just never been confronted or shared the idea of something different, they just won't believe in it. You need to be open to speak in a way that is welcoming to the person in front of you. And that doesn't matter who they are. Once you discover that they aren't somebody that should be welcomed, of course, then you don't do it. Like Medhi Hassan. Medhi Hassan was welcoming a lot of the people debating, but then once he found out they held certain values, then he cut it off, which you should do. Don't judge a book by its cover, which is a stupid saying, of course, but very early on, I discovered that I don't like when people introduce themselves, or I don't like when people describe themselves as an overarching term. For example, if I meet somebody, I don't like if we talk about spiritual beliefs. Like if I go, hey, are you religious at some point during the conversation? And they go, yeah, I'm Christian. You just destroyed a very, very possibly deep conversation. You just destroyed it because now you saying you're Christian, that automatically describes every belief you have towards Christianity. It doesn't necessarily automatically describe that, but to whoever's talking to you, they will automatically assume, okay, this person has this stance, this person thinks this thing. If somebody says they're conservative, you automatically have a list of things that fit to that person's persona or opinions, automatically. But that's impossible because everybody is singular. Every person has their own thoughts and beliefs, and the combinations of that is based off around them. And now they may have different weak points. Like I said, somebody may say they're conservative because they grew up and were raised conservative. But now when you talk to them, there's a possibility that they just never were confronted by the ideas of non-conservatism, progressivism, whatever it is. And you just need to introduce it to them to get their brain thinking and to get the rotors running and whatever, so that they actually possibly come to the point of believing the other side or changing their opinions. This advice is applicable to right and left. It's applicable to anybody trying to convince anybody of anything. You need to be open and welcoming to whoever's in front of you until you possibly find out that they shouldn't be welcomed, or you find out that you should further pursue this person. Apply the same thing that you use when it comes to relationships. If you approach somebody that you have a romantic interest in and they decline you, stop the conversation. Stop the interaction. What are you doing? Why are we continuing? Don't try, don't neg, don't ply until something happens. Stop. You're done. So it's the same with the debate. If you're talking to somebody and they're very much obviously not open to the debate or not one of those 3 goals that I mentioned, stop. It's done. We shouldn't be doing this. Somebody who I always get bothered seeing on my For You page or part of anything is Dean Withers. And not because he's unintelligible. He knows what he's talking about. He knows what he's saying. His opinions are very valid and whatever. But the way he pursues these things are completely out of place. He goes on TikTok live and he writes the caption, if you're a Trump supporter, join the live, okay? Which first of all, if you're not having anybody else besides directly Trump supporters, you're obviously just bait. And what he does is he's trying to fish for something stupid that they say so that he can clip it and he can share it. Now, my personal thought is I think Dean is extremely performative. I think he's only doing it because he's getting some sort of gain out of it. I mean, there was that, what was that? He did his little tour. He did his tour looking for Charlie Kirk. Dude, Dean Withers is the left wing's Charlie Kirk. They're both the same person, if we're being honest. Because all Charlie Kirk does is go to college campuses and debates people who don't know what the fuck they're talking about. That's all he does. And he yells at them. He goes against every rule of debate. And we saw this because once he did go to somewhere where actual debate rules were necessary and required, when he went to like, I think it was Oxford he was at, he got obliterated by the people debating there. Because those were actual people that were part of debate teams or literary teams or whatever, and they knew what they were talking about. But put him back on a college campus and he'll look like a genius because he's surrounded by dumbasses. And that's the same with Dean Withers. Dean Withers surrounds himself by dumbasses this so that he looks like a genius and that he makes his money. Charlie Kirk and Dean Withers are both performative on their sides. They don't actually stand for anything that they speak about, and they're only doing it for their own personal gain. That is, dude, and I stand by that. I stand by that. Of course, I prefer Dean over Charlie because Dean actually supports things that I believe in as well personally, and he's more of a supporter of like humanity and just the rights for people in general. So I'm more behind that. But when it comes to the essence, I don't know. And then there's this question. I don't believe that they shouldn't exist. I just think the way that they're doing it isn't profitable to anybody besides themselves. I don't think it's helping. Like I said, Dean's goal during these debates, Charlie's goal during these debates isn't to convince the other person of their opinion. It isn't to share their own opinion. It is to make the other person look stupid. Once that becomes your goal, then everybody looks stupid. Now we all look dumb. Because what are we doing? What's the point of this? It's just very tiresome. As somebody who likes to debate, I like to talk about a plethora of things. I like to debate anybody. I love listening to people's opinions and sharing my opinions. And I never want to convince anybody of anything. This is what bugs me too. Devil's advocate, the term devil's advocate has become so misconstrued. People are playing down devil's advocate because they just want to annoy the other person. They just want to be like, yeah, fuck, well, what about this? What about that? What about blah, blah, blah. I used to play devil's advocate because I want to hear as much as what the person thinks as I can. I used to ask extra questions just to challenge the other person's opinions behind what they're speaking because I want to know more about it myself. But now people play devil's advocate because they just want the person to be mad. They want to rage bait. They want to get their clip for TikTok and Instagram so that people can watch it and make fun of them in the comments. Haha, they're so stupid. Oh, how can you be this dumb? Blah, blah, blah. They're dumb because you are not teaching them. And this just causes further disconnection from both sides. If Dean Withers has somebody on his live, debates them, makes fun of them, haha, you're stupid, they're going to turn around and go to the person who says, no, you're not stupid, you're completely valid in your opinion. And they're just doubling down on what is stupid about what's the person thinking, but because you called it stupid, now that person found their validation in it somewhere else.
Hey, hi, I am currently in the process of editing the video that you're watching right now, and there's something that I thought about while editing that I forgot to mention in the video, and that is the third person perspective during these debates. Usually a debate is between two people, two minds, two thoughts, two opinions, but with the modern day format of how debates are ran, there's always a third person, that person being the audience, and the audience is also included within this debate, not vocally, but with their ears. They're listening to what's going on. So not only is the person that Dean is debating with, or anybody who's debating anybody on anything, so not only is the person they're debating with being influenced by what's being said and how they're being dealt with, but the people that are watching will sympathize with one or the other person, and then will also feel like they're being attacked when that person gets attacked. So if Dean Withers is debating somebody who holds a specific opinion and somebody watching holds that same exact opinion, they will also feel personally diminished and demeaned by however Dean Withers reacts to the situation, leading them to also look for validation somewhere else and also develop a sort of Abneigung. Dude, in the intermission, I gotta look up what a word is. An aversion. And they'll develop a sort of aversion to somebody else who also holds the take that Dean holds because they see that as that is the enemy's take. And like I said, I believe this causes just further division and further hostility between everybody who just wants to have a conversation and just wants to talk about stuff. Yeah, so I just had to add that real quick. I hope you enjoy the video so far, and I hope you enjoy the rest as well. Peace.
And this just causes more extremism. It causes more hive minds. It causes more echo chambers because people go looking for the place where they're not called stupid, where they're not demeaned as a human, where they're not made out to seem like their existence is completely unnecessary. Every human's existence holds some sort of weight. It holds some sort of value and quality. That's just what it is. There's a lot of that going on right now. A lot of people trying to take away people's thoughts and not building on them. And when I say building, I don't mean make whatever their thought is extreme or automatically. I mean just work on it, mold it, form it, how it should be, how you believe it should be. And if they're not susceptible to that, leave them alone. Go to somebody who is. That's all I'm saying. But what do you think? Is the way that we do debates now constructive and actually helps to improve our quality of life? Or do you agree with me and think that the way that we do debates is completely twisted and we should take a new take on it if we ever want anything to change? Let me know in the comments down below. If you like this video, leave a like and subscribe if you want to see more.